Hi friends, welcome to PSC Collegiate English. Today, let us look at the poem Beowulf. The time period of Beowulf was the 6th century, approximately between 500 to 1100. It was the time of foreign invasion and internal struggles, that is, the mixing of several races, tongues, and cultures were taking place in England. In the 5th century, Angles, Jutes, and Saxons, the nomadic tribes, had come and settled in England, and it is probably an agricultural scenario where they had strong bonds with each other. By the 6th century, St. Augustine had arrived in Britain. The poetry, the entire Anglo-Saxon literature consisted of 30,000 lines of Old English poetry in 4 manuscripts. They are the Exeter Book, the Vercelli, the Junius, and Novel Codex, which is also known as Beowulf manuscript. The poetry spoke about pagan and Christian morals, epic heroic poems, lament and melancholy. For example, the wife's lament, the husband's message. There were also poets like Seidman and Cinewulf. Some prominent features of Old English poetry are they had alliterative lines, they had strong stress rhythm, they had lines which were end-stopped and unrhymed, there was no lyric. Yet another important feature is the use of kenning. Kenning is a figurative phrase. For example, gold friend meant lord or thane, earth gallery meant castle, vale road meant sea, twilight spoiler meant dragon, and sea shawl referred to ship travel. There was prominent usage of litotes. Litotes is a figure of speech which means understatement. For example, Grendel's mother, the monster, was referred to as wolfish swimmer. There were also variation in the usage of words. Different synonyms and kennings were used. Internal rhyme or middle rhyme was in use. Now let us see Beowulf as Old English verse. It is a heroic poem and it is the highest achievement of all Old English literature. It is also the earliest vernacular epic. Beowulf consists of 3,182 alliterative lines. It was composed in the 6th century. The poem appeared in prints after 1815 and manuscript dates to circa 1000. The poet had grasp of the Bible and the great epics Iliad and Odyssey. Beowulf is set in Scandinavia between 500 to 600 AD, a time when the battle by Germanic Anglo-Saxon tribes were taking place in Denmark. The plot happens in Denmark where King Hrothgar and Queen Withlow are ruling. Now, tracing the lineage of King Hrothgar, he was the son of Halfdane. He has a brother called Hroðgar and a sister called Helga. And Beowulf is the leader of Spear-Danes. We all know that King Hrothgar's kingdom was affected or it was troubled by the monster Grendel, and Beowulf comes to Denmark to kill Grendel, and that's how the story proceeds. There's also mention about King Skilfing who was buried at sea. Okay, Grendel lives in swamps, and after 12 years of constructing the mead, Grendel comes and attacks the men. Hygelea was the ruler of Geats, and Beowulf was nephew of Hygelac. He has a strong supporter. Beowulf has a strong supporter called Wiglaf. In those days, Scop meant poet or bard. Beowulf is also a pillar of fantasy genre and has shaped many of books, movies and TV shows. Let us also remember the places where Grendel, Grendel's mother and dragon live. Grendel lived in Heorot, the great mead hall. Grendel's mother lives in Mere or Pool. Dragon lives in Geatland. So the story is like, first of all, Grendel the monster had attacked the Heorot, the great mead hall. There it was disturbing the king's men. And this went on for nearly 12 years. And after that, Beowulf arrives, kills Grendel. When Grendel is killed, his mother, Grendel's mother, is very much affected, and it comes to kill Beowulf. And in a fight, Beowulf kills Grendel's mother and succeeds. Later on, after so many years, when Beowulf himself has become the king, dragon attacks his land because one of the slave had stolen a little coin from the great treasury of dragon. So that is how the Geat land has the you know the temper of dragon, and dragon attacks them, and Beowulf once again wages a fierce battle, but in that battle he is mortally wounded and he dies. And Wiglaf, the close associate, becomes the next heir. So that is the story of the Anglo-Saxon literature. Now let us also look at the popular translations of Beowulf. It might be useful from a net point of view. In 1837, John Mitchell Campbell he was the first person to produce the complete translation of Beowulf. In 1910, Francis Gamer, he had retained the alliteration that is used in the verse. In 1973, Michael Alexander, he had rendered in the modern verse. In 2000, Seamus Heaney had rendered the translation. In 2014, J.R.R. Tolkien had given the translation as well as commentary of Beowulf. Thank you.